I've covered more than 400 kilometers yesterday, riding through pouring rain, zigzagging my way along twisty dirt road, almost got taken out by kangaroo, and finally setting into this beautiful lakeside camp just before the sunset. I wake up to this lakeside campsite. I'll take the moment to enjoy the quiet just a little bit longer before riding across the high mountain plain. I'll visit the airy, forgotten alpine huts, blast my way through this forest once more, in the hope of finding my way back home before the daylight completely disappeared. I opened the tent, and a fresh breeze of chilled mountain air rushed in, crisp and clean after the last night's rain. My tent was soaked. There was no point of rushing into the day, so I decided to wait for the sun to rise, let everything dry out properly, also just to enjoy the view a little bit longer. Last night, I didn't have time to properly take in the surroundings. But this morning, before the sunlight becoming too strong, the lake and distant mountains peaks gradually coming into the view. I watched the cloud and mist lift from the mountain, and the groups of water birds moved slowly across the surface of the lake. Good morning. It's not raining anymore. A little bit overcast. The forecast says it's gonna rain again around 9 a.m. I'll just try to get out of here before that time. My bike is kind of exploded. Helmet was wet, my hat, clothes, everything. I'm using every bit of the bike to using as a drying rack. This camper only just myself and other group of people. It's so nice just to be able to enjoy camping in this location on my own, almost on my own. Now I'm just gonna enjoy the view a little bit, brew a coffee, maybe have a breakfast, and get out of here, keep exploring. I usually start my day with a cup of coffee, and for this trip, I thought I packed light. I gave up some luggage space for a bigger cooking pot and keep it simple with a pour-over coffee. Nothing fancy, but this simple setup lifted my morning instantly. Honestly, any camp coffee tastes good when you have a view like this. This was supposed to be my last night dinner, but it worked just well for breakfast. A warm, savory food felt just right for a gloomy mountain morning. While the tent and the gear slowly dried, I took the opportunity to fix my broken navigation. I cut off the worn section of the cable, twisted the wire together, and wrapped everything up with duct tape for insulation. Moment of truth. Will it work? Yes, it worked. I think so. There's a very thin plastic cover covering the antenna. But not long after, the GPS dropped out again. I'd be riding blind for the rest of the trip. Although I didn't realize that just yet. Time for pack up. One thing I really like about this tent is that it's break down into 3 parts. It makes packing much easier when everything has to fit neatly back into the luggage. The last things to go on the bike was the garbage bag. Leave no trace, just memories and footage. Before leaving, I decided to take a short ride along the lakeshore. This lake is actually a water catchment located on the Cooma River, one of the largest dams in the New South Wales. It holds nearly 3 times of the volume of Sydney Harbour. At the moment, the water level is low, and the shoreline has retreated, exposing large sections of land. That's likely due to the lack of rain over the past few months. But the irony is, we don't get enough rain, yet every time I head out for an adventure, I somehow end up riding through a storm. This place was getting crowded. It's clearly a popular spot for water activities. Time for me to leave and ride toward to the snowy mountain. There's a secret place up there I really want to visit. I can see the cloud coming in. There's a slightly chance of the rain gonna come down again. I need to get out of these mountain ranges before the rain really pulling down. As I rode out, dark clouds pushed in again. I had just made out in time, narrowly dodging another downpour. There was some tight, twisty section before entering the mountain range, but I'm confident that my 450 MT will take those twisty and turn into some fun. I stopped at the Blackberry Lookout, and this marked the official entry to the snowy highway. Almost immediately, I felt the temperature drop. The wind picked up as the elevation increased, and suddenly, the view opened up completely. Amazing how you got this on top of the mountain. Basically just a plain. Well, I guess that's why they call it a long plain. This was one of the places I want to visit. I was curious to see what the hut on the mountain top was like, so I left the main road and rode into the forest. Non-plain hut. Apparently you can go inside. Wow. There's no light. Imagine you had just to stay here and using a candlelight. Oh wait, apparently someone is staying here. There are many high country huts scattered across the Australian Alps. Most of them were abandoned and left to ruin over time. But in recent years, some has been restored by the volunteers from the Huts Association. These huts represent the diversity of the past land use and help to tell the ongoing story of human life and survival in this remarkable landscape. Pretty unique place. Let's get out from here. There's also a dedicated camping area nearby. On a warmer day, it would be a perfect place to stay. I I reconnected with the paved snowy highway, ready for those magnificent high mountain bends and the long open streets. It was extremely windy up there. In open sections, gust wind pushed me toward the edge of the road, and I had to lean into the wind just to stay balanced. In a weather like this, I was glad to be riding a 200 kilo plus adventure bike, fully loaded with luggage. I pulled over and took in the view. I've ridden this road many times before, but never alone, and never have I felt this level of freedom while riding solo. This feeling was remarkable, and I was only halfway through this adventure. I continued along the snowy highway, crossing the Great Dividing Range, descending into the vast grassland of the snowy region. This place called the Dry Plain, and it's really lived up to its name. On the bright side, the cloud finally cleared, and it started to warming up. About an hour later, I arrived at Cooma, the capital of the snowy Monaro region. I stopped for the much-needed fuel and some essential supplies. I got my supply, I got water, had something to eat, and now I'm heading to Braidwood. From Cooma, there are several roads back to Sydney. I chose the Cooma Raod, avoiding the straight and the boring highway, and it turned out to be an excellent road to ride. Alright, gravel road. About 40 kilometers from Cooma, the road surface turned into gravel, a welcome change after a long day riding on tarmac. But the temperature climbed into an uncomfortable 30 degrees, and the afternoon sun was relentless. Another problem is the sun. This road, the color of the road is just too bright. My eyes kind of hurt. I found myself riding through some dense forest. The road was in great condition. Still, I stayed alert. The shadows along the roadside were prime kangaroo territory. Oh, and the dead wombat. That road was amazing. I wasn't expecting that. It was 1,200 above the sea level. It's almost as tall as the snowy highway. I'm halfway to Braidwood. Still gonna be an hour and a half ride to do, but I have plenty of daylight left. Now it's a perfect golden hour. The problem is the color of the road is in such a bright color. Even with tinted visor, I still struggled. Anyway, let's get going. I descended into the valley and back into the farmland. Continue north. About half an hour later, the road returned to tarmac, and I was getting close to Braidwood. Oh, come on. Oh. Back on the Seal Road. Oh, we're here. Late on a Sunday afternoon, this quiet, beautiful town was soaked in a golden light. Most of the people had already gone home, but I still have an hour of riding ahead. I'm obviously gonna be riding into the night again. If I'm lucky, I can get to Goulburn in 1 hour and 2 more hours for me to get home. Without a doubt, I was behind schedule again. I left camp late and stopped far too often along the way, and that meant riding my final hours straight into the sunset. But I have no complaints. In fact, these last 30 minutes of riding might have been the most rewarding part of my entire day. I know I'm behind schedule, but I just have to pull a side of road and take a couple of shots. This is my favorite time of the day. The final 10 minutes through the grassland feel like riding through a wall of bugs. My front windscreen was completely covered. As the last light faded, I finally reached Goulburn. From here, it was highway all the way back to Sydney. I keep telling myself now ride in the evening and go home early, but yeah, I just couldn't do it. I was supposed to be arriving home 3-4 hours earlier. My plan was never followed through. The setup was just perfect. Luggage didn't move at all. I'm quite happy with this tire. It handled dirt, highway, corner, no problem, and I didn't even change the tire pressure. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I do. Thank you for tagging along on this trip. If you haven't, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Ciao. In my next adventure, I headed north, determined to face my fear of water crossing once for all. I camped on an incredible cliffside with a killer sunset, explored the pine forest of Barrington Alps, and by some accident found myself alone on the Nando's infamous 20 Creek, attempting the river crossing solo. I'll be riding through 35-degree temperature and pouring rain once again, all in the hope of meeting up with my riding buddies. Will I make it through those creeks, or will I be stranded with no one to call for help?